Welcome to the 8th chapter of the book of Joshua. You can see, though, it's chapter 7, so there's a few things I want to mention that I brought up in chapter 7. One was the name of the man who pilfered, and it mentions that his name is Achan, and then it goes into, it says Achar later. Well, as I studied it, went into the Hebrew and everything, it gets to be very confusing. But generally, I think Achar is better because in Hebrews, the Hebrew Bible, in 1 Chronicles 2:7, it talks about him, and it does call him Achar there instead of, and that is in the Hebrew. But it does have Achan in the Hebrew, and verses 1 here, 18, 19, 20, and 24. It says Achan, and the Complutensian Polyglot had Achan here in the first verse, as we see, but the Aldine edition at the same time, put together at the same time with the Complutensian, has Achar in 7:1. So, and then in Emek Achor, in verse 24, the valley, or the place, they all have Achor. So that's why I believe that it ends up with the Ri in Greek and the Resh in Hebrew. So it's, I believe, Achar. So I'm going to change it in the first verse here from Achan to Achar, so they're all the same and they don't have the confusion. Now, in 7:20 also there was a problem. Go down here. I hope I don't make you a bit dizzy. It has EC, and I saw right away, well, that, generally it was ESU. So I checked it out, and it is ESU, not EC, as I had it. So this is a Epsilon, looks like a U, ESU should be, and I'll change that in the next edition. So now, with those taken care of, we'll go to chapter 8 and the ambush at Ai. Now the Hebrews were defeated because of the stealing of Achar, of the gold and certain things, and in the last chapter. So now we'll see what happens. It says, and the Lord said to Esun, you should not fear, phobethes. Whenever you see the phobe, has phobia as a fear. Nor should you be timid. Don't worry about it. Basically, you lost, but don't fear. Don't stand back, because this is what Joshua was talking about in 7. That, why are we doing this if we're being defeated? We would have been better off on the other side of the Jordan. But God says, take with you all the men making war. Polemuntas. Polemics is arguing over words, war of words. Polem, so that's where this comes from, war. Making war, take with you all the men making war, warriors, and rising up, ascend unto Ai. Now I'll use the Ai, even though it's gay in Greek. Behold, I should check that out. Forgot to do that one in the Hebrew to see what it has. Behold, I give into your hand, and I'll let you know the next 9th chapter of what this was. Behold, I give into your hands Hiras, a here, chiropactor, hero, chir, the Vasileia of Ai, the king of Ai, and his Leon. Wherever you have Leon, Laos, has to do with people, laity is a derivative. And his people and his Polene, metropolis, Polene in the accusative. This poli is generally a city. And his Gene, geology comes from that, is land. All these orange highlighted words can be found in our book English Derivatives from the Greek New Testament. And you can it also helps you to be able to pronounce Greek. It's a great book to have if you're interested in the Word of God on this level. And you shall do to Ai and her king in which manner you did to Jericho. The 4160 to do as the PAO, a poet, but we've mentioned over and over again, 4160 is the most, what should we call it? The verb that appears the most times in the Bible by far, to do. So you shall do to Ai and her king in which manner you did to Jericho and to her king, and her spoils and her cattle you shall despoil for yourself. Now this is different because in Jericho they were to destroy everything, not to take anything, except for the gold and silver which went to the temple. But here they can take things. But place for yourself an ambush to the city unto the rear of her. Now I've added to and unto. So an ambush, people. And the ambush we see is 5,000 people, men. And Jesus rose up in all the Laos, the Polymistis, warriors. There's polemics again. You can add that 4170.3 to your English derivatives book. Whenever it's in green, you can add it to the book. So he rose up, all the people, the warriors, so as to ascend unto Ai. And Jesus chose 30,000 men, mighty in strength, and sent them by night. So now, last chapter, the men said, well, it will be easy to take the city with 2,000 or 3,000, but now he's taking 30,000 because they were defeated. And he sent them by night. And he, Jesus gave charge to them, saying, see that you lie in wait the city, behind the city greatly. So get behind the city quite a ways a distance that they can't see you, but behind it. And behinding, I believe, is it would be from the west. And you shall all be prepared. And I and all the ones with me will lead forward to the city, and this is from the east, and it will be as whenever the ones dwelling in Ai should come forth to meet us, just as also the day before, and we, the Jews, fled from their face, that whenever they should come forth after us, we shall draw them away from the city. So before they all ran, and so now they do the same thing, and all the people will come out, hopefully. And when they will say, well, they flee from us, or our face, in which manner before, that we, the Hebrews, shall flee from them. So when they see them coming out, then they run backwards, retreat, but they're doing that so that the city would be taken. And you shall rise up from out of the ambush, the people there at the ambush. So if there was 30,000 and 5,000, it was 5,000 in the ambush on the west. And you shall rise up from out of the ambush, and you shall go into the city, and shall obliterate the city, and the Lord our God shall give it into our hands. And it will be, whenever you should seize the city, burn it by fire. Pyre, pyromaniac, pyre, fire. According to this matter, you shall act. Now I have act, or you shall do, 4160, again, to do. According to this matter, you shall do, act. Behold, I have given charge to you. And Jesus sent them, and they went to the ambush, and sat in place between Bethel and between Ai from the west. And Bethel was fairly close to Ai. It was towards the Mediterranean, 20 or 30 miles. So this is where the ambush was, in between Ai and Bethel. And Joshua, or Jesus, lodged that night. Nikta, nocturnal, comes from that, in the midst of the people. And Jesus, rising early in the morning, numbered the people. And they ascended, he and the presbytery, the elders of Israel, before the face of the people of Ai, against Ai, face of the people against Ai. And all the people, the warrior, the one with him, ascended. And going, now it's interesting here, you would think it would be warriors, but it's in the singular. So it's people, oleos, the people, the warrior. If I made it plural, it wouldn't really be correct because it's in the singular. People can be singular or plural, where in English it's always plural, basically, people. But in Greek you have the article in front. Here it's O, which is a nominative singular, the people, even though there's many. And all the people, the warrior and the one with him, ascended. And going, they came right opposite the city from the east. That would be from the Jordan area, from Jericho. And the ambushes of the city were from the west, that is, between Ai and Bethel. And they encamped from north of Ai. So apparently the ambushes were from the west, but encamped from the north. But whatever that is, they're at the north somewhat. And the valley was between it and Ai, so people in Ai apparently couldn't see him. And he took about 5,000 men and stationed them in ambush between Bethel and Ai, west of Ai. So here we got all these 5,000 waiting. And he arranged all the people of the camp, which was from north to the city, and the ends of it west of the city. And Joshua Jesus went that night in the midst of the valley. And it happened, as the king of Ai beheld, that he hastened and rose early. And there went forth the men of the city to meet them, that is, the Hebrews, straight on into the battle. He, the king, and all his people, at the opportune time, in front of the wilderness. Apparently there's a wilderness area there, which would have been towards the Jordan. And he knew not that an ambush against him is behind the city. And Jesus and all Israel beheld and withdrew from in front of them. So when they saw them all coming out, they all turned around and ran away, like they were running away from them in fear. And Israel fled by the way of the wilderness towards the Jordan, and all the people of Ai grew in strength to pursue after them, that is, the sons of Israel. And they, the people in Ai, departed from the city. They did not leave behind anyone in Ai and in Bethel. Now how Bethel ties in, because the people were, it says, between Bethel and Ai, but it says to the north. So I'm guessing that the people of Bethel didn't see these people hidden in ambush. Excuse me. So they didn't leave anybody behind who pursued not after Israel. And they left the city being open. That is, all the people ran out after him, left the gates open, and pursued after Israel. And the Lord said to Eson, stretch out your hand with the javelin in your hand against the city, for into your hands I gave it. So he has a javelin when the people see it. And the ones in ambush shall rise up quickly from out of their place. And Joshua stretched the javelin in his hand against the city, and the ones in ambush rose up quickly from out of their place. And they went forth when he stretched out the hand. And they, the Jews, entered into the city and overtook it. Nobody there. And hastening, they burned the city in fire. And the inhabitants of Ai looked, and there was 18,000 people, it mentions at the end here. And the inhabitants of Ai, looking about, and to the rear of them, they viewed the smoke of the city, ascending into the heaven, and no longer had they anywhere to flee, here on this side or here on that side. And the people, the Jews fleeing into the wilderness, turned upon the ones pursuing from Ai. And Jesus and all Israel beheld that the ones in ambush took the city, and that the smoke of the city ascended into the heaven, and turning, they struck the men of Ai. So now they turn around and they attack them from the front. And the other one's in ambush from the rear. City, they can't go into the city, it's burned down. And these came forth from out of the city to meet them. And they came in the midst of the camp, some of these here and some of these there. So that is the people, the Jews that were in the city came out, and they were helter-skelter apparently. And they struck, the Jews struck them, the men from Ai, until there was not one being left behind of them, being delivered and escaping. And the king of Ai was seized alive, and they led him to Eson. And it happened as the sons of Israel ceased killing at Pav, the Pavs, right here, Pavs, we have a word pause, killing all the ones in Ai, and in the plains, and in the mountain upon the descent of which they pursued them, that all fell by the mouth of the broadsword, by it unto completion. All the people were killed. And Jesus returned to Ai, and struck it by the mouth of the broadsword. And it came to pass, all the ones falling in that day, from man and unto woman, 12,000. So apparently that's how many people were in Ai, a pretty good-sized town. All the ones dwelling in Ai. And Jesus returned not his hand, which he stretched out by the javelin, until he devoted to consumption the whole of the ones dwelling Ai. Except the cattle and the spoils in that city, the sons of Israel despoiled for themselves, which they didn't do in Jericho, according to the order of the Lord, in which manner the Lord gave orders to Esau. And Jesus burned, see now here we've got Esau, two Esau and Esus, and they're Esun above, and was up here, Esun. So those are the three forms of the word, same in the New Testament. And Joshua, Jesus, burned the city by fire, and he established it for an embankment into the Aeon, that's a hill, uninhabited until this day, when this was written. And the king of Ai, he hung upon a twin tree, somehow two trees next to each other, and he's hung. And he was upon the tree until the time of the evening. And at the setting of the sun, Jesus gave orders. And they lowered his body from the tree and tossed him into the cesspool before the gate of the city. That's where everybody apparently went to the bathroom, and set over him a large heap of stones until this day. So the end of Ai. Now I put this P here for paragraph. The paragraph that we'll see below should be moved up to here, the heading. And it says, Then Joshua built an altar to the Lord God of Israel. Now this is completely separate. So I have that. See, this is right here. Joshua writes the second copy of the law. It starts up there. It's on Mount Ebal. So now they're in Israel, and he's up on Mount Ebal, which more further up north. As Moses the attendant, the therapon, therapeutics comes from that, the attendant of the Lord gave charge to the sons of Israel, as it is written in the law of Moses. It says, an altar, I should but saying here, reading, an altar entirely of stone upon which an iron tool was not put upon it. And he transported there whole burnt offerings to the Lord and a sacrifice of deliverance offering. Now, whether or not the ark went there too, I don't know. But I always thought that the sacrifices and the altar would be where the tabernacle was. But maybe not. Apparently these were offerings were done on Mount Ebal. And Joshua, Jesus, wrote upon the stones the second book of the law. You can add that to your English derivatives book, Deuteronomion, Deuteronomy. There it is, the whole name for the book we just went through before Joshua. The second book of the law, which that's what it means. Deutero is second, and nomos is law. The second book of the law, Deuteronomy. Now, if he wrote the whole thing, that's a long book to be put in stone. So I'm not exactly sure what he did, but it says the law of Moses, which he wrote in the presence of the sons of Israel, as Moses wrote it. And all Israel and their presbytery and their magistrates and their scribes, grammatis, grammar for scribes, were coming near on this side and on that side before the ark. So see, this is why I think the ark was there on Ebal. And the priests and the Levites lifted the ark of the covenant of the Lord. And the foreigner and the native born were there, the halves of them neighboring Mount Gerizim, and the halves neighboring Mount Ebal. As Moses, the Therapon, Kyriou, attendant of the Lord, as Moses, the attendant of the Lord, gave charge 5, 6, at 7, first, 8 to bless, 9, the people 10. And after these things, and I put Jesus, but he read, that should be a he read, not Joshua. I don't know I have that unless it's there and I missed putting it in there, but I don't think so. And after these things, Joshua read the whole sayings of this law. There's the nomu, astronomy, the blessings and the curses according to all the things being written in the law of Moses on Ebal and Gerizim. There was not a word from all which Moses gave charge to Isu, which Isus did not read into the ears of all the assembly of Israel, to the men and to the women, and to the servants and to the foreigners going with Israel. So here you have two of them in there. So two, he gave charge to Isu. So when you see here it's Isus, we know this is in the nominative. And Isu is in the genitive, and Isun is the accusative. So whenever you see these, I suggest going through the study guide that I put together. You'll learn a lot. In the article here, to is the. Sometimes it's not used because it's wouldn't sound right in English. So you would know this was not, he gave charge to Joshua. Joshua was the indirect object. Moses, and he gave a word which would be and the accusative, it's the object, from all to Isu, which now Isus is the nominative, that means it's a subject. And Joshua, which Joshua did not read into the ears of all the assembly of Israel. So you know that Joshua, because it's Isus, is the subject of the sentence. So all this information in the Greek, and it's all hopefully in the study guide I put together, and I'm going to be doing videos going through the study guide and all the parts of speech, nouns, pronouns, and so forth here. I get to it. So many things to do, and now I'm around getting close to Christmas. Well, it's only the 2nd of December, but getting a lot of orders, so I need to get those out. Orders for Bibles. So the next chapter, very, very interesting chapter, I think, and these people mislead Joshua. So to find out what this story is all about, you have to join us in chapter 9 of the next video seminar. Until then, God bless.